Actually, it's time now, isn't it? Okay, let me okay, let me just put this in the icebox. Hold on.
Sorry.
Okay. Just a moment or two, and we'll...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself because I'm going to be printing some stuff while you're singing. That's why I needed. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Get my headset here.
I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, but please, if you could go ahead.
Okay. That's fine. Alrighty. So, Jaya Madhava. Okay. Hare Krishna. Jaya Rama Kunja Vihari Jaya Rama Kunja Vihari Jaya Kupijana Ballabha Jaya Kupijana Ballabha Kishora Nandana Bhajana Nandana Kishora Nandana Bhajana Nandana Jamuna Tirana Joy Jamuna Tirana Joy Jayora Rama Kunja Vihari Jaya Rama Kunja Vihari Kopi Jana Ballabha Jaya Kopi Jana Ballabha Kishora Nandana Bhajana Nandana Kishora Nandana Bhajana Nandana Jamuna Tirana Joy Jamuna Tirana Joy Jaya Rama Kunja Vihari Jaya Rama Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Could you say Jayam Vishnupad?
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrāja Stodara Sutta Shishman Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Nitalira Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrāja Stodara Sutta Shishman Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kunti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Skaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shai Mukund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Cyber Sangha Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaur Prem Anandi. All glories unto the assembled devotees. All glories unto the assembled devotees. All glories unto the assembled devotees. All glories, lotus feet of Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Namahari Prabhu.
You're very welcome. An honor.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, the last chapter of the third canto. And today we're going to do 15, 16, 17, and 18, because this is more or less about the same kind of thing. So, we have a PowerPoint. I just find that, for me, I need to show visually what I'm trying to talk about. We will begin by chanting the first Sanskrit sloka, and then going through the purports and doing a little PowerPoint presentation. So please repeat after me. Prajapate Kardamasya.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Tapo Yoga Vidrimbitam.
Tapo Yoga Vidrimbitam.
Svagarhasyam Anaupamyam.
Svagarhasyam Anaupamyam.
Pratyam Vaimanikairapi.
Pratyam Vaimanikairapi.
That's the best I'm going to do. So please chant.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Sagarbhasyam Anupamyam.
Svagarhastyam Anaupamyam.
Pratyam Vaimanikar api.
Pratyam Vaimanikar api. Prajapate Kardamasya.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Svagarhastyam Anaupamyam.
Sagarhasyam Anaupamyam.
Pratyam Vaimanikar api.
Pratyam Vaimanikar api.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Svagarhastyam Anaupamyam.
Svagarhasyam Anaupamyam.
Pratyam Vaimanikairapi.
Pratyam Vaimanikarapi.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Prajapate Kardamasya.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam.
Svagarhastyam Anupamyam.
Svagarhasyam Anaupamyam.
Pratyam Vaimanikarapi.
Pratyam Vaimanikarapi.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Please repeat. Prajapatehe of the progenitor of mankind.
Of the progenitor of mankind.
Kardamasya.
Kardamasya.
Kardamamuni.
Kardamamuni.
Tapa.
Tapa.
By austerity.
By austerity.
Yoga.
Yoga.
by yoga,
By yoga.
Vidrimbitam, developed. Svagar Hastyam, his home and household paraphernalia.
His home and household paraphernalia.
Anaupamyam, unequaled. Pratyam, enviable. Vaimanikai, by the denizens of heaven. Api, even. How's my sound?
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to stick this thing right in front of me, the mic. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. So again, I'm going to switch to a PowerPoint, which has a total of 12 slides, and some of them are for beauty, but most of them I need in order to explain the concept. So if you have facility to be by your screen, if you can see this, and it might help. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. I am recording. To the regular mute mode instead of the lecture mode. That way, in case I get messed up, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6, or just hit the mic button and you can unmute yourself just in case there's something that really gets messed up and you need to interrupt me to let me know. So we'll go ahead and begin then. 4 verses. We'll read the translation and the purport. 2 purports. So translation to the first verse is, the home and household paraphernalia of Kardama, who was one of the Prajapatis, was developed in such a way by dint of his mystic powers of austerity and yoga that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. Purport. The statement in this verse that Kardama Muni's household affairs were envied even by persons who travel in outer space refers to the denizens of heaven. Their airships are not like those we have invented in the modern age, which fly only from one country to another. Their airplanes were capable of going from one planet to another. There are many such statements in the Srimad Bhagavatam from which we can understand that there were facilities to travel from one planet to another, especially in the higher planetary systems. And who can say that they are not still traveling? The speed of our airplanes and space vehicles is very limited, but as we have already studied, Kardama Muni traveled in outer space in an airplane which was like a city, and he journeyed to see all the different heavenly planets. That was not an ordinary airplane, nor was it ordinary space travel. Because Kardama Muni was such a powerful mystic yogi, his opulence was envied by the denizens of heaven. Next text is Apaya Pane Vibhashaya Danta Rukma Parich Chadaha Asnani Cha Haimani Susparashtaranani Cha. The translation: the opulence of the household of Kardama Muni is described herein. The bed sheets and mattresses were all as white as the foam of milk, and the chairs and benches were made of ivory and were covered by cloths of lace and gold filament, and the couches were made of gold and had very soft pillows. Showcase for the universe, like the model airship home or aerial mansion, like a city for the entire universe. So everything new, clean, pristine, of the highest possible quality of the entire universe. So Svachcha Saptika Kudyeshu Margakeshucha Ratna Pradipa Abhati Lalana Ratna Sangyutaha. The walls of the house were made of first-class marble, decorated with valuable jewels. There was no need of light, for the household was illuminated by the rays of these jewels. The female members of the household were all amply decorated with jewelry. Purport. It is understood from this statement that the opulences of the household life were exhibited in valuable jewels, ivory, first-class marble, furniture made of gold, and jewels. The clothes were also mentioned as being decorated with gold filigree. Everything actually had some value. It was not like furniture of the present day, which is cast in valueless plastic or base metal. The way of Vedic civilization is that whatever was used in household affairs had to be valuable. In case of need, such items of value could be exchanged immediately. Thus, one's broken, unwanted furniture and paraphernalia would never be without value. Can you imagine? You break a chair and it's got gold and diamonds and valuable rubies. You don't throw it away, take it to the dump. This system is still followed by Indians in household affairs. They keep metal utensils and golden ornaments or silver plates and valuable silk garments and gold embroidery, and in case of need they have some money in exchange immediately. Their exchanges for the money lenders and the householders. There are exchanges for the money lenders and the householders. I'm going to the next verse. I'll tell you a story because I didn't put it in my notes. We just went to Ross and we saw some stuff from India, and we got, wow, what a deal. We bought this cabinet that looked really nice and said genuine mango wood, and then we got it home, we looked closer and said, wait a minute, the whole thing is plastic. And it said on it, genuine, unique mango wood imported from India. And the whole thing was plastic. It looked like mango wood. Anyway, they're real cheaters. But boy, they made it really look like it. But useless things. Anyway, and then text 18, the last verse. Griho dhyanam kusumatai mitai. Rambyang bhavyam mara Drumitaihi Kujaj Vihanga Mitunang Gayan Mata Madhurvratam. Sorry if I mispronounced any of that. And lastly, the compound of the main household was surrounded by beautiful gardens with sweet, fragrant flowers and many trees which produced fresh fruit and were tall and beautiful. The attraction of such gardens was that singing birds would sit on the trees, and their chanting voices, as well as humming sounds of bees, made the whole atmosphere as pleasing as possible. Okay, now I'm just going to go back to make sure we got it all right. 18. Yeah, that's correct. All right, so let's go to my slide presentation. Enter here. There you go. Okay. I trust you can see this. All right. So now I'm going to pull out my notes. So, when I went through these verses, by the way, if I get carried away, please somebody tell me if I'm going over time. I have 5 pages of notes with 12 slides. So, what's being described here is the unmatched opulence that Devahuti had, was left by Kardama Muni, by his mystic power. What was produced by him was envied by the residents of heaven. You know, the higher planetary system, which is, their opulence is inconceivable to us, and they, the demigods, were sometimes envious, like, whoa, how did he attain all of this? So, and the amazing thing that I thought was, Srila Prabhupada was explaining that the opulence that was there was, had intrinsic value for every single piece of that aerial mansion. Not like nowadays, such a pitiable position that we're in. We are trained by advertisers through generations from World War II especially, that we need, we're forced to want by advertisement things that absolutely we don't need, but we think we have to have them. We're forced to want these things because advertisers, the government around the world, they know how to manipulate the masses of people's subconscious desires. And with those primal desires, they can be forced to buy things that they don't need, and planned obsolescence is there within every product, so that every year or every few months you have to throw it away. Even if it doesn't break, you got to throw away because it's become obsolete. And now, I'm not going to get off on this too much, but I think this is important. This is the first slide. You can see Devahuti being presented the aerial mansion by Kardama Muni. And now let's go to the next slide. This is our present situation. Here's the slide that says, every minute, 1 garbage truck worth of plastic is dumped into the ocean. Yearly, a colossal 1.4 billion pounds of trash ends up in our oceans. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think this is worth mentioning. I just pulled this off the internet. It says that 275 billion plastic bags are produced worldwide in just 2017 alone. Every second, a massive, let me read this again, every second, a massive amount of 160,000 plastic bags are being produced and used. By the end of this year, we will have used 5 billion plastic bags, and of these 5 billion bags, 5 million of them will make their way into our ocean. So where does all the trash go? Once the trash reaches the ocean, where does it all go? You may be on the beach and not see any trash around you and wonder how there can be over 5.25 trillion pieces and counting. One of the main places our trash travels is to the North Pacific Ocean gyre, or, as most people know it, the infamous Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Our ocean gyre is defined as a system of circular ocean currents formed by the Earth's wind patterns and the forces created by the rotation of the planet. Despite its name, there is nothing great about the swirling mass of trash that is 4 times the size of Texas. The ocean gyre. Sorry?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the visual, and where's Hawaii on here? I mean, it seems like it should be right, real close to that patch.
It's right in the middle.
Oh, it is. It's in the middle of the patch.
Yep. That's us. We're right smack in the bullseye.
Wow, I'm sorry for interrupting. I was looking all over Hawaii. I thought it must be somewhere near there. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Not exactly in the middle, but we're there, yeah.
This is very interesting. I'm loving it. Keep going.
I'm not going to get too much off on this, but just to finish up, this ocean gyre has become so filled with trash that it was once thought that you could see it from space. That theory has since been proven wrong and is actually worse than we had imagined. Much of the trash found in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is microplastic. So in other words, all these microplastic pieces are going gradually down to the bottom of the ocean floor and are being ingested by microorganisms and fish and plankton, and it's just poisoning our oceans, our landfills. The planet is becoming a garbage dump. It's just a mess. So the whole reason why I went through this is to give you a contrast of the opulence. Now we have Devahuti's opulence as envied by the denizens of heaven compared to what we've got in this planet in the Kali Yuga right now. You can try to get some sort of an inkling of what we're talking about here. Okay, so I'm leaving that subject matter. That was a little bit of a deviation. That was not what the presentation is about. The point is that Devahuti, at this point, has practically unlimited opulence, extraordinary opulence. So why is the Bhagavatam in so many verses now describing so much about this opulence? It's in order to show Devahuti's enlightenment and therefore detachment from this world. Because any amount of even the best material things, as described here, can never satisfy us. She found something much, much higher, and that's why it's described. She was wearing tattered clothes, and her hair's a mess, and she's got her maidservants, but she could care less about her body. They're taking care of her body, but she just doesn't care about her surroundings, about her own material body, because she found something much, much higher inside of herself. So the point is about this very elaborate description that we're going through is it shows how much opulence was at her feet, but she rejected it all because she was experiencing something much, much better, and therefore we can understand that even if we have the best of all material things, we can never be satisfied. So now I go to the next slide, 4, and we have here, Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. So, yes, Krishna, the very word Krishna means all attractive, attracting the entire universe. He's the reservoir of all attractive things. Everything is revolving around him and being drawn towards him. So Krishna, it wants unlimited pleasure. He is unlimited, and he wants unlimitedly. So similarly, we also want unlimited pleasure. We want unlimited things. We don't want anything that is stagnant, no matter how good it is in this material world. So it's not foreign for us to seek pleasure. It's not that that's something that's not intrinsic to us. It is. We are full of pleasure, but we're looking for it in the wrong place in this material world. So the example is just like the finger, if it tries to enjoy something separate from the stomach, it cannot enjoy. Or just like the part, as soon as it becomes part of the whole, it has intrinsic value. Outside, it's useless, but as part of the whole, it has its intrinsic value. So Krishna is unlimited, so therefore we are also seeking that unlimited pleasure. So that is because we are like him. We are as part and parcel, just like the ocean water has the same saltiness. Similarly, we have the same pleasure-seeking nature to ourselves. We're looking for something that is not limited, but is unlimited. Therefore, the Chandogya Upanishad, the great impersonalist or Mayavad Mahavakya, is Tattvam Asi. Tattvam Asi means that I am the same as that spiritual nature. I am that. Yes, we are. We're part and parcel, little drop in the ocean, and therefore we have the same qualities. Sometimes it's recommended the process of self-worship, which is called Ahangropasana. Now, I tried to find that in the 11th canto. I just could not. If we got anybody here familiar with the 11th canto, where it is, but it's there somewhere where it's recommended to Uddhava that one of the processes of self-realization is that of Ahangropasana, worshiping oneself. Why? Just like we worship the deity by offering incense and a lamp and putting a garland, so those that perform the Ahangropasana, they, instead of offering the lamp to the deity, they offer the lamp to themselves, the incense to themselves, and they garland themselves. And the whole point is that one who's in just the beginning of spiritual life, is very grossly materialistic, he's recommended for that, so that by worshiping yourself, you can start to understand that I am Tattvamasi. I'm part of that. I am the same quality as that Brahman. Just like one grain of rice, if you press it in your fingers, if it's cooked, if it's soft, the whole rest of the batch in the pot is cooked. So similarly, if we can understand the quality of ourselves, we can understand the quality of God. So let's go to the next slide, 5. So in this regards, in the Brahma Samhita, the very first verse of the 5th chapter, which we only have the 5th chapter, because Ishvara Paramakrishna Satchidananda Vigraha, so that describes Ishvara Paramakrishna, it's Krishna himself. And then the second verse is the one that I have displayed here. This refers to Krishna himself, his manifestation. He himself, and then his spiritual abode, which is like a shining lotus. Because the only way we can understand spiritual subject matters is through poetry. So it is certainly there, but it's said in a poetic way. So, because we can't conceive of what's in the spiritual world. It's not that there's not a lotus. There is a lotus, but we can't imagine what that lotus is. So it's said in a poetic way that there's a shining lotus, which is the topmost spiritual abode. And there, Lord Balaram, Krishna's first expansion, he has infinite energy, and he is the all-accommodating power. He manifests the entire spiritual and also material world. And then it's also described in that second verse, Radha is the essence of the Lord, and all existence, which is manifested by Balaram, revolves around her, all energies. So let's read this verse. So it says, Sahasra Patra Kamalam, that there's the topmost abode, it's this lotus, it's a kamalam that has thousands of petals around it. And then Gokulakyam Mahatpadam. So it says Gokula. There's Goloka and there's Gokula. They're both the same abode, just that one is manifested below for us. We can actually see it, and when you have spiritual vision, you see its spiritual quality. It's manifested in this material world below, and the other one is above. It's unmanifested to our material eyes. So Gokulakyam Mahatpadam, and then Tat Karnikaram, Tat Dhamma. So that Dhamma, that abode, it's in the shape of a world, like Karnikara means a whirl of the lotus. That's his topmost abode, and then it's described as Tat Anantangsha Sambhavam. That refers to Lord Balaram manifesting everything else like an effulgence around it. So the translation here is, the spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect. If I'm mispronouncing anything, forgive me, sorry. The whirl of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. So I want to read this purport. Again, warn me if I'm going over. As you know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, his English is at such a high level, it's quite taxing for most of us, probably all of us. So we have to listen very intensely. And then what I'm going to do after that, for like the majority of this class, for the rest of this class, is just explain this one paragraph. So here it goes. Purport. Gokula, like Goloka, is not a created, mundane plane. Unbounded character forms a display of his unlimited potency and his propagating manifestation. Baladev is the mainstay of that energy. The transcendental entity of Baladev has two aspects, that is, infinite spiritual manifestation and infinite accommodating space for insentient gross things. What happened here? Anyway, the quadrantal delineation of material universe will be dealt with in the proper place. The tri-quadrantal extensions of the transcendental infinitary field of the Almighty, unlamenting, unperishing, and unapprehending, unlimited situations of halo, which are fully transcendental majestic foliation. These very majestic extensions portrays the manifested lofty rich feature of the vaster unlimited region of greater atmosphere, which has its resplendent location wholly beyond the realm of mundane nature, on the further shore of the Viraja. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I'm just reading it. Viraja. Surrounded by the halo of Brahman, or the indistinguishable entity. This majestic power of unlimited spirit emanates on the upper portion of the luminous sphere into the most charming Gokula, or externally existing Goloka, exceedingly beautiful by the assorted display of effulgence. Some designate this region as the abode of the Supreme Narayana, or the original fountainhead. Hence, Gokula, which is identical with Goloka, is a supreme plane. The same sphere shines as Goloka and Gokula, respectively, in the upper or transcendental lower or mundane situations. Okay, so let's try and go through this. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, in his unparalleled way, is explaining that Gokula, he says Gokula, like Goloka, is not a created mundane plane. So when he refers to Gokula, Vrindavan, the manifested spiritual abode in this world, he's referring to him, the Supreme Person, who manifests and descends in this world. He is not a mundane object or simply a dead place as we find in this world. It is him. And that Gokula is like the supreme abode, Goloka, which is unmanifested to our mundane eyes. So let's go to the next slide, which is slide 6. We're halfway through. So I've used this slide before. I found it helpful for me to try and understand Krishna's energies, because in this verse that we just read, second verse of the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, it says, Tad anantang sambhavam. So sambhavam is a manifestation. It causes it to come into being, into existence. And tad anantam sham. So that ananta, that unlimited, is Lord Balaram, and he's angsha, he's a part. So that part manifests everything else. So we see here that Sri Krishna, this primeval Lord, he manifests his unlimited opulence through his Sarup Shakti. And from the Sarup Shakti we have Vaibhav, Prabhava, and Anubhava. We're not going to go over this again because we would never get done with this particular class. But the point is that Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord, he doesn't do anything. Everything is done by his energies, beginning with Balaram manifesting everything in the spiritual world. So, therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that realm, that Goloka, that Gokula, has unbounded character. Unbounded character forms the display of his unlimited potency and his propagating manifestation. So you will see in this entire description how very much it's using the poetry of botany, if I could say like that. This is at least how I understand it. So it's unlimited potency in its propagating manifestation. So if you look up propagate needs to breed specimens of many different things, especially plant, by natural process from a parent stock. So in other words, just like you got in your household a plant, you cut off one of the branches, you can stick it in the ground. If you do it right, or you put it in water, it'll sprout also. So similarly, Sri Krishna, he has this Sarup Shakti, and from that Chit Shakti, Sarup Shakti, his first manifestation is that of Balaram, and Balaram manifests the entire spiritual world from a mixture of the Chit Shakti and the Sandini Shakti. And from those two energies, Baladev, he manifests the spiritual world, its names, its forms, its qualities, all of its pastimes, Nama, Guna, Rupa, Leela, those are all their manifestation of this primal Chit Shakti. And then he says, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, that Baladev is the mainstay of that energy. So what is a mainstay? A mainstay is a thing on which something else is based or depends. The example given in the dictionary is farming is the mainstay of rural economy. So in other words, everything is resting on Baladev. The entire spiritual and material worlds are all supported, emanating under his energy, all for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Well, of course, Baladev is, but he's acting as a servant of the Lord. The transcendental entity of Baladev has two aspects, which are infinite spiritual manifestation and infinite accommodating space for insentient gross things. Now this I find very interesting. Again, this is my understanding of what is being said here. But let me just read that one more time. The transcendental entity of Baladev has two aspects: infinite spiritual manifestation and infinite accommodating space for insentient gross things. So, let's go to the next slide. Okay, now, I don't want to be pretentious. I'll tell you right now, I didn't even make it through algebra. I got a GED. You know, I became a devotee when I was in my teens, and I hated school, and I especially hated math and algebra. However, this is really interesting. There are varieties of infinity that can be perceived even in this mundane world. There are some infinities that are greater than others. there's a theory of infinite sets which was developed in the 19th century, I guess, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, something like that. No less, 70 years ago, something like that. There's this fellow by the name of George Cantor, and he was a brilliant mathematician. I tried to read explanations of how he arrived at this, and it was really not easy. But here's an easy way to understand this. You've got complex numbers, and those include both imaginary numbers and irrational numbers. And then you've got real numbers. Real numbers include rational numbers, integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers. So that you see on the left side. And then if you look over here on the right side, I know, this is like probably we haven't seen this stuff in high school, but anyway, just try and remember. Start down at start at the top. So we got the real number diagram. Now this is important to understand what we're reading right now in the Brahma Samhita. So if you can just accommodate me for now. So we have positive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it goes all the way up onto infinity. There's an infinite number, an infinite amount of counting numbers, whole numbers. And then whole numbers also include 0, so you add 0 to it. And then besides the whole numbers, there's integers. So integers include not only the natural numbers, the whole numbers, but it also includes negative numbers. So not only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, but also negative 1, 2, 3, etc., all the way down. So on both sides, to the left and to the right, it goes off into unlimited space. And then there's the rational numbers. So rational numbers are in between all of those negative and positive numbers. There's fractions, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, and those can be expressed in terms of decimals as well. Okay, so this is the point about this, just logically speaking, because there's a way, mathematicians can actually show how this works. But for our purposes, we're going to need to get into this, and not only that, I couldn't catch it. But for instance, if you look at this chart here, there are more rational numbers with all the fractions in between the numbers than there are integers. And there's a way to actually calculate that. So even though all of these different sets of numbers are infinite, there's different sizes of infinity. Okay, so saying that, let's go to the next slide, which is 8. Okay, so now we have another graph for you. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was a mathematician as well. And many of his examples have to do with mathematics. So here he says in the purport, the quadrantal delineation of material universe will be dealt with in the proper place. The quadrantal extensions of the transcendental infinitary field of the Almighty, unlimiting, non-perishing, non-apprehending, unlimited situation of halo, which are fully spiritual, majestic foliage. So a quadrant is defined as each of 4 parts of a plane, a sphere, space, or body divided into 2 lines or planes at right angles. So you've got your X and your Y axis, and then you've got these different quadrants. So go to the next slide. So here is a verse from the Purusha Sukta. It's like the second part. So this is done in classical Sanskrit. I know what it sounds like, but I'll try and imitate it as best as I can. It goes like this. Pado osya vishva bhutani tripadasya mritam divi tripad urva udai purushaha padosyaha bhavat punaha. So anyway, what this means is, so it says padaha. Padaha refers to 1/4. So padasya, of his 1/4 Vishvabhutani. That Vishva means the material world. It's the universe. So Vishvabhutani means all the created beings are in this Ekapad Vibhuti, this first quadrant. And then it says Tripadasya, of his three quadrants, his three quarters, Amrite Divi, it's divine. We have the mundane one quadrant, and then the Tripad Vibhuti, divine quadrant, and then Tripad Urdhva, Udaita Purushaha. And that Purusha, he always remains in the Urdhva. He remains in the upper abode. He's eternally there, whereas Pada Asya, so Pada Asya, the one quarter, Ekapad Vibhuti, Iha in this world is Abhavat Punaha. It means it's created again and again. So I thought that was important to understand. Right in the Purusha Shukta, it's being described, these different quadrants of infinite, the infinite manifestation of Baladev. So, because you think, so if the spiritual world's unlimited, how is it possible you can say there's one quarter? How can you have one quarter of infinity? Yes, there's one quarter of infinity, and it's stated here that Baladev, he's the all-accommodating. Let me get that again. That he, Baladev has two aspects, the infinite spiritual manifestation and the infinite accommodating space for insentient gross things. So we'll go to the next slide, 10. Again, there's 12 slides, so here's slide 10. So here's the poster that I have in my room. I'm very indebted to my wife to have brought this to me. It's huge. It fills the entire wall of my office. So it's hard to see everything in a little bitty slide. But anyway, if you can see here, this is a manifestation of all creation. So if you can see this, you can clearly see there's the material world at the bottom, then it goes in the Brahma Jyoti, the Vaikuntha Lokas, Vaikuntha Dham, and then at the top is much, much larger than anything else. Much more variegated is Goloka Vrindavan. But over on the left part of the chart, we see Devi Dham. Devi Dham is the material world that we're in, we're captured in. Above that is Mahesh Dham. Mahesh Dham, on the bottom, that which touches the material world, that is like a dark cloud. This is the causal ocean, or as described here, it's the other side of the Viraja River. So that separates the spiritual world from the material world. So you got this material world that's called Devi Dham. You have Mahesh Dham, which half of it is in darkness and half of it is illuminated by Brahma Jyoti. It's the in-between, the junction point, Mahesh Dham. Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, unlimited. Haridham, the Vaikuntha world, unlimited. Goloka Vrindavan, unlimited. But there's different sizes of unlimited, different sizes of eternity, different sizes of the spiritual and material world, even though each one of these bodes, Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Haridham, and Goloka Vrindavan, each one of these quadrants are unlimited. Okay, so we go back to the description. So here again it says that the tree quadrantal extensions of the transcendental infinitary field, non-apprehending unlimited situations of halo, which are fully spiritual majestic foliage. So what is a halo? A halo is from the Greek halos, also known as himbus, or anilo, or glory, or which means a crown of light rays, a circle or a disk of light. So in other words, what's being described here is Goloka Vrindavan is the pinnacle of the spiritual world. it's the topmost shining abode of the Lord. And then it says, which are fully spiritual, majestic foliage. So majestic refers to royalty, the best of all. Fully spiritual, majestic foliage. So again, we have another term, poetic term, used in botany. So what is foliage? Foliation, majestic foliation. The act or the process of putting forth leaves. The arrangement of leaves within a bud. So in the verse, it says, Tat Karni Karam. So a Karni Karam means the whirl of a lotus. Tat Karni Karam Tadhama. That whirl of the lotus is the abode of the Lord. So now we go to slide 11, penultimate slide. So here we have a cutout of a lotus, or any kind of a flower of such. So, yes. So the whirl of a lotus. The whirl of a lotus is its innermost part, or in other words, its essence. And if you look at this graph here, you find that reflected in this material world, the lotus here, it has two parts in the world. One is its male part, and the other is its complementary female part. So this is the whirl of the lotus, the abode of Radha and Krishna, the same supreme being manifested in two aspects of male and female. I guess you could say yin and yang. So, hope that's not too mundane, but anyway, let's go to the last slide. Slide 12. Okay, this takes a while to come up because it's a huge amount of data. Come on, come on. Oh, that's the end of it. Here, okay, here's a blow-up of Goloka Vrindavan. So each one of the petals that are surrounding Radha and Krishna, they are in the abodes of Radha's expansions. Each one of her expansions are one of her qualities. She is the embodiment of all qualities that attract the Lord. And each one of those qualities, in their fullness, manifests in extension, and each one of the petals of that whirl, the foliage comes out, and those are the leaves. So what are the leaves and the petals? The leaves and the petal, they protect and they nourish the lotus. So they're surrounded by this inner circle, the leaves and the petal, the whirl of the lotus. And then around that, if you can see in the graph, I know there's a lot to see here, but it's surrounded by different oceans and different islands in different circles. Around it is Mathura, then Jagannath Puri, and then Dwarkadam, and then beyond that is the Goloka planets. So as you go inner to the essence, you go through these different islands until you get to the whirl of the lotus. And then it describes, let's see what time, almost 7. This very majestic extension portrays the manifested, lofty, rich feature of the vastly unlimited region or greater atmosphere which has its resplendent location wholly beyond the realm of mundane nature on the further shore of the Viraja, surrounded by the halo of Brahman, or the indistinguishable entity. So surrounded by the Brahmajyoti, shining effulgence, light everywhere. This majestic power of unlimited spirit emanates from the upper portion of the luminous sphere into the most charming Gokula, or eternally existing Goloka. So Gokula manifests and unmanifests because the material universe is manifest and unmanifest, whereas Goloka is manifest always, although it's not manifest to us because we're in this material world. And that Goloka is exceedingly beautiful with the assorted display of effulgence. Some designate this region as the abode of the Supreme Narayana, or the original fountainhead. Hence, Gokula, which is identical with Goloka, is a supreme plane. The same sphere shines as Goloka and Gokula respectively in its upper or transcendental and lower mundane situation. So that's the only difference between Goloka and Gokula, is that one is above and one is below. Sorry, got to drink something here. So in conclusion, why is there all this elaborate description about Devahuti's opulence? It's because she's become detached from this world, even with all this fabulous, enviable opulence. She's completely forgotten about it, because everything in this world, even the best, can never be enough for us as spirit souls. We can only be satisfied with that which is unlimited. So that was my little spiel for today. I hope the slides were helpful, and that's it. I'll unmute everybody. I just got to get to the unmute button. Uh-oh. I got to refresh because it went dead on me. Hold on. Okay, unmute. Thank you very much. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add?
Yeah, I never thought, Ram, I would be convinced that there's a, at least not that I fully understood it, but I never thought I would be sort of convinced that maybe there is such a thing as how would I say it? I don't know how to say it. Two infinity, a greater infinity than another infinity.
That's right.
Boy, that's a real foreign concept.
Different sizes.
You threw in the different sizes of infinity. I just thought, infinity's infinity, but I guess it's one of those things when you're dealing with it on a spiritual plane, then we can't apply our mundane logic. But one thing that I guess I never understood before, did you say that Goloka, like, I've always understood the description, there's like unlimited Vaikuntha planets, but there's one Goloka Vrindavan. Are you saying that one Goloka is larger than all of the Vaikunthas put together? Did I kind of get that?
Yes, that is correct. It's the largest, the most varied of any abode, the highest abode.
I know it's the highest, but geez, I never understood it was bigger than, I thought it was like, I somehow just had the wrong picture in my brain, that it was just, this one elite special place in all spiritual creation.
But
I never pictured it as being the largest manifestation in all of the spiritual world.
But again, we have to, sorry, I was kind of interrupting there, but again, I wanted to make the point that both Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Harni Dham, all of those are unlimited. So when we talk about size, it's not our conception of size. I mentioned Cantor. There's other mathematicians. I believe there's 4 of them. Oh, let's see. Who is talking?
Yeah, you got to mute somebody. So it's making it hard to hear.
Oh, Jerry, sorry, I have to mute you. Sorry. Other mathematicians before Cantor tried to conceive of eternity, and they went stark mad. They went crazy, and even some of them committed suicide just to try and conceive in our limited, bounded mind of that which is eternal, and they lost their minds trying to to conceive of it.
I always think of it as like the example I often give. It's like those computers, a little hand computer you used to have. When you go beyond the limits of the computer, it just comes up with an E, meaning error. You've exceeded its limits. It just can't go there. And I guess that's what happens with our limited brain. But when our brain becomes spiritualized by hearing from Shastra and hearing from the lips of a pure devotee, then we get unlimited potential to understand concepts far beyond what our mundane intellect would be able to accommodate.
Thank you, Narayana Prabhu.
Thank you. Anyway, great class. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I watched busy as I was, I set my phone on the counter here while I was cutting up things with the deities and watched every slide. Very helpful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Ramananda Prabhu. I also thought it was a very good, logical, very interesting class. I would like to offer an example to help our puny brains understand this. Consider the room that you're in right now. So we're all in a different size room, but consider if you're in a 25-foot room or a 10-foot room. So the first thing we're going to do is cross half the distance of the room. So half is behind us, half is in front of us. Then we're going to cross half the distance again. So 3/4 is behind, 1/4 is ahead. So we're going to cross half the distance again, and half the distance again, and half the distance again. And if we keep stepping half the distance of the room from where we are to the other wall, we'll never get there, because there will always be an infinite amount of numbers that we will be going half of. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so,
that's nice.
Okay, so that's the room that we're in now. Now there's a room next door. It's also that way. It also has an infinite amount of space. And there's a room next door to that also has an infinite amount of space in that same way, in the logical numbers way. That's why we have to open our minds to understand that we're not just looking at something in 2 dimensions like your poster, or 3 dimensions that we're used to. But even in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says Krishna is in the 4th dimension, and then Narahari Prabhu has reminded us that beyond the 4th dimension there's up to 10 dimensions. So we really have to expand our, not just our understanding, but our whole way of thinking. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I really appreciated the class. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the examples. Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to add?
Yeah, I got something. Nonetheless, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So I couldn't find your 11th canto reference, but in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I was surprised to see this. It's in the purport to 12:12. And it's, you know, if you can't do this, do this. So in the verse it says, better than knowledge is meditation. So in the purport it says, gradually knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. And then there are processes which make one understand that one himself is the Supreme, and that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service.
Oh, there you go. There's a reference, yeah.
Yeah. Then Sridhar, she said, part of the infinite is infinite. And one of the examples is the 4 sons of Dasaratha, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. They were considered to be partial manifestations of Vishnu. So part of the infinite is infinite.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, that's appreciated. Anybody else? Or shall we go ahead and close up? I guess that's it. Let's see. Well, Sunil Prabhu put something.
I'm going to have to decompress after this class. I mean, you really expanded our brains, Ram, in the comments as well.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to need some decompression time to face the rest of the day. It's quite a journey we were taken on, and very enlightening.
So, Sunil Prabhu.
Harigol.
Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Jai.
Dhanyavad. In your research, did you come across anything about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela in the spiritual world?
Yes, and that should be on the chart, right? Let's see if we can pull up a bigger one, the bigger image of it. Anyway, the Sweta Dweep, there you go, Sweta Dweep, right here in the inner circle. That's Sweta Dweep, that's the abode of the Lord. That is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has pastimes. And if I could blow this up, you would see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyway, trust me, you can't see it, but those are all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes all the way around. And then in this chart, it gives the references, but it would take too long to pull it up. Shastric references for that. The verses where it's pulled from. So this is like the graphic image, and then the Shastric references there. I'm sorry, I can't look it up. It would take too long.
Is Lord Chaitanya's abode as big as Goloka Vrindavan?
It's surrounding Goloka Vrindavan, but the world of the lotus is the largest because it's the most intimate and it has the most paraphernalia.
I'm sorry, which one is the Goloka is the largest with the large whirl, you're saying?
As the whirl, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Sweta Dweep, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's abode, Navadweep, Sweta Dweep, the same. It surrounds it, so it like enhances the pastimes.
Oh my gosh!
Now,
and where is that? What scripture does it talk about that?
You know what? After class, I could look it up. Because you see how on the chart that's being displayed is like on the side they've got the Brahma Samhita, they'll have different Puranas and different Bhagavatam verses, stuff like that. We have Bhagavatamrita, so those are all there and I can look them up for it. Or better still is I have a printout that goes with this chart and it lists all the Shastric references. But to explain this chart, for the devotees that made it was a 5-part seminar, so I can't remember everything. But I can send it to you and you can look it up because it will give all the references.
Okay, thank you.
Sunil asked a question, but it's in private chat. So Sunil, did you want me to answer that or no?
Yes, Prabhu, yes.
Okay. Probably others would be more qualified to answer this question, but he says, how to understand that Neil Armstrong did not land on the moon, although we have seen videos of flag installation. So there's some devotees that are really have done a lot of research into this from other people that have looked into it. There's something called the Van Halen barrier. If you go through it, you're just going to be burnt to crisp. So how did they ever go through the Van Halen barrier? That was never explained. And then when they landed on the moon, why? They have all these crisp, clear images, even back in the 60s or 70s when they did it. But somehow or other, everything was very grainy as far as the images that came back from the moon. And then when they planted the flag, it's like waving in the wind. So why is it waving in the wind? And then why is the lighting off so that there's shadows going in 2 different directions when the only thing that should be shining is the sun? But how come you got shadows in 2 different directions? Somebody messed up the lighting there. and different other things. You know, how come when they landed there was no crater created by the blast? You know, they very peacefully just landed right on the moon, you know, without any kind of crater. There's all kinds of discrepancies about that are easy to look up on YouTube, conspiracy theories like that, but we can just rely on what Srila Prabhupada says, that the description about Chandraloka does not at all correspond to whatever they presented. And how come they never went back after spending millions and trillions of dollars and, you know, all this endeavor and stuff like that back in the 60s and 70s? They never went back? What was that?
I have a video. You have Sunil's email, Ramananda?
I can send it to you. Or Sunil?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
Yeah, I can send him a video. That'll get him kind of going on it.
Oh, there you go. It's in the chat. He's got it. He put it right in the chat there for you.
Yeah, you're going to have to still send it. I can't. I'm on the phone.
Okay.
I can't.
I'll do that. I will do that.
Okay.
It seems I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want detail.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you know much more about this than I do.
Yeah, there's clips of NASA people right in the space program that are saying that we never went beyond low space orbit. They're on record of saying that.
I was in Soviet Union at that time, and so Russian scientists was just cracking laughing that they say they're lying because they couldn't go farther than that belt, you know, the magnetic belt. So anyway, they knew already that they're lying. So anyway.
The madness is, I think they're reviving it. They're reviving this whole space exploration thing again. They're asking for like, and what's his name? Who's our president?
Trump.
Trump, yeah, Trump.
Let me try.
I know, you kind of fried my brain in this class. Like I said, I need to decompress for a while. Yeah, but Trump is really up in the ante again to want to go back into space exploration. There's a competition between China and various other countries to want to go back into to have this competition to conquer space, and Trump is right into it. They're talking about having another branch of the military that's especially for space exploration and defense. It's totally crazy.
So Sunil Prabhu, I just wanted to give one example from my personal experience. We live here on the Big Island. In May, there was lava that had drained out of the main caldera here, which we're only a mile from. So it drained down and went towards the ocean, and it popped out of these fissures, and a bunch of people lost their homes. But the area was about 10 square miles, a small, very small portion of the island, but it got on world news. I mean, everybody knew about the Big Island. Everybody's getting killed. They're getting fried, overcome by lava. It's horrible. Don't go there. For months, we're barraged with this kind of news. And everybody on the Big Island is scratching their heads like, what are they saying? For God's sakes. Leilani Estate always gets, you know, it's in lava zone 1. You know, they made it sound like the whole island, the whole state was being inundated by lava flow, so much so that the whole tourist industry went away. And it was because it was so authoritative. It was so realistic. They were flashing these images all the time of lava coming out and exploding, and, you know, so if I completely lost my faith in media after this episode. You cannot imagine my frustration thinking, for God's sakes, why don't they listen to the people that live here instead of looking at television and believing these people? And they absolutely duped the entire world. So that's what I have to say as far as the moon expedition landing. If in the Vedic literatures, I trust what is given there. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the media. I trust what's in the Vedic literatures because it has never let me down. From my own personal experience, whatever I see on TV, you know, it's just entertainment. That's my word on it. So, anyway.
Ramananda?
Yeah.
One last thing. In the center of the world, there's Sri Sri Radha and Krishna in the center, and there's a hexagonal thing around it. But then to the left is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sankirtan.
Right.
And then to the right, I can't make out what that graphic is.
Oh, Lalita Vishaka, all the different expansions. These are the most...
in the center yellow, there's a little graphic. Is that
in the very center yellow?
Well, just to the right of it. Radha and Krishna's in the center.
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me run over to my my wall. Oh, that's Krishna with the gopis, having pastimes with the gopis. So one's on the left side is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the other side is Krishna enjoying with the gopis, and in the middle is Radha and Krishna.
So is there some scripture that describes that inner world, or that...
that's in the Brahma Samhita. It's in the 3rd verse. I'll send it to you, all these different references. You know, it describes a hexagonal figure and all that, and in the purport Srila Bhaktisiddhanta explains everything.
But it actually refers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that inner... I mean, you're saying he's in Sweta Dweep on the outside, but
as well as
showing him on the inside too. Again, anyway, whatever you have, that's...
Sure. Again, these are graphic representations of a poetic presentation of an inconceivable understanding. So it's just to help us wrap our minds around it. But I will certainly send that to you.
Yeah, I just find that we have so much description of Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world, but hardly any of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you know, they're supposed to be kind of on the same level as far as Lord Chaitanya isn't an avatar of Krishna. He's Krishna himself, and it just seems that he's getting short shrift or something about his...
what's the song? I got by Artam Das Thakur. It says, anyone who understands that the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are non-different from that of Radha and Krishna can enter into those pastimes. I forget the verse, but Prabhupada nicely explains that in the purport. Anyway, when you get this, you'll see all the references. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Rob, one last question. One last question before you wind up. I'm going to go way back to the beginning of class where you talked about that. What was it called? The trash? What was it?
What do they call that? The trash.
What did you call it?
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or the North Pacific Ocean Gyre.
Okay, my question. We were hearing about this floating island somewhere that was the size of Texas, and then we hear it was bigger. Is that then no longer floating somewhere?
No.
Is that what they were talking about? And then it eventually went down to the bottom of the sea and broke down to little particles? Or is there still that big, huge floating island of trash? Does that still exist?
It exists. It's grown to 4 times the size of Texas, and the point is that you can't see it, but from space. But it's not there. The stuff that's not broken down, as you're going through it, you actually be able to to see it, evidence of it. But the worst part is that it breaks down, and when it breaks down, it kills the ocean. So, okay. Yeah, it's definitely there. It's just
being a sailor. I kind of picture being on a ship, and all of a sudden you've got to go around this big island because you may be this floating island because it might be sucking stuff into your engine, and because it's grabbing the cooling the cool water from the ocean to cool the engines, et cetera, et cetera. So many reasons they're taking water in. So I guess they wouldn't be able to do that if there was a floating island. So it's not floating anymore, or maybe it never was floating.
It's floating, but it's in very small particles. If you do some research online about the Deep Horizon explosion in the Gulf of Mexico, you'll get an idea of what happens, because what they did with that big slick is they had to break it down to smaller pieces, which was all done hush-hush, and then what it did is it made it dissolve into the ocean, which just killed the ocean. It would have been better to have an oil slick, but they killed the ocean by making it in small particles so you can't see it. It's not that it's not there, you just can't see it. And then all the marine life, they ingest it, both plants and aquatics. But anyway, that wasn't my main point, of course, for the class. I just thought I wanted to bring out the contrast about how the Earth is being trashed, and then we value these insignificant, unwanted things.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. As I've said before, sometimes a small point that the speaker wasn't really meaning to emphasize just may jump at somebody for some reason and really capture their interest. For some reason, that really caught my interest.
Okay, Prabhu, it's almost 7:30. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Really appreciate it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Haribo.
Haribo.